Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Did you know you can apply to over 50 historically black colleges and universities at the same time for only $20? You can with the Common Black College application. Hello, my name is Robert Mason. I'm the founder of the CBCA. Students around the world have completed the application and received multiple acceptance letters, financial aid packages, and scholarship offers. So visit our website at commonblackcollegeapp.com to apply now. And don't forget to pick up the book, Get Educated, The Man Behind the Common Black College Application. Thank you.
5 years ago, the Power of We Symposium was created to provide a platform for kids from all sectors where they could have a safe and comfortable environment in which to share both their joys and concerns. The Power of We Symposium is proud to have served over 250 kids throughout Romania when we took our mission global back in May of 2023. Now, 2 teams of amazing volunteers from both the U.S. and Romania embarked on an 8-day Legacy of Hope tour, bringing encouragement and hope to not only the kids of Romania, but also the adults who support them, and also to over 100 kids here in the U.S. who contributed handwritten letters of hope to our Romania mission of 2023. Now, this year, we are proud to provide this opportunity yet again in October, and we are super excited to up our game. New venue, 750 kids this time, and we want to see you there. We're looking forward to meeting you in person at this year's event, which promises, as always, incredible speakers, amazing content, and of course, some of the greatest kids on the planet. So, mark your calendars for October 24th, and we'll see you here in Chicagoland for the Power of We Symposium 2024. This year's theme is Always Together, Never Alone. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite or at powerofwesymposium.com.
don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
Oh, get up, wake up, get up. Ain't no sleeping in here. Wake up. It is time to face it, y'all. We are here today, just swimming right in the middle, enacting one of the greatest promises available to us. The one that guarantees that when two or more of us comes together, we got that mindset, that heart say, we're here to make a difference. Can I get an amen? I'll start it off. I ain't scared. There it is. Amen. And good morning to all of you beautiful people. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren. And what a beautiful day it is. It's raining here in Chicagoland, but we need it. If you or someone you love is in the Texas area, sending out prayers and just, good energy that you make it through this thing. And I know you will. Let us know if we can help you in any way. You know how to just DM the show. And we'll do whatever we can to help get something to you in the way of blessing. So that's the bell of purpose. It's in full effect. It's not a gimmick, not a show prop, more of an opportunity, if you will. I ring it when some truth is out there. We get busy. I get it. But I don't want us to get so busy that we miss the greatest gift of all, and that's because truth has a ring to it. But you got to be listening for it. So when you hear the bell, it means something's going on here. Tune in. It's here to help you. It's here to pour into you so you can pour into other people. You can only help with your overflow. Okay? Got a new mug today that I picked up in our Jackson Hole week-long jaunt, week before last, there with the Guinness Book of World Records and the Trueness Project, trying to get that record, which we did not, but we did start something. Here's a look at this. See, right? Gorgeous. I came back from there feeling pretty good. I showed you more pictures, more on Friday, and some video from that trip. We'll have it for you. Walked in the Jackson Hole 4th of July parade, which was great because it was my birthday celebration number 62. So great week. Thank you again, everyone. Jackson Hole and the Chamber of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Thank you so much. And Guinness Book of World Records. Thank you so much. So today we have a guy named Gary Anthony Ramsay. Now, you know how I feel about people with three names because I got three names, right? And I met this guy when I was in New York. Remember for the Black Young Professionals event. And met him there, and boom, right away I knew. Who is he? His name is, like I said, Gary Anthony Ramsay. He's a New Yorker, lives in New York, and he's also the CEO of Great Pitch Media, and he's an author. We're going to talk about a book today entitled, no, I'm trying to be clever here, entitled, You've Fallen, But You Can Get Up. Not to be confused with, you remember back in the day, at least you should. Well, I don't know. Wait a minute. What did I do? You know what? I'm not going to do all that. Hold on. This. I'm going to do it. I'm in here now. So this one. Remember this?
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yes, you can. You just fell before Gary wrote the book. That's what happened. So, see? So... You know how long I worked on that. I need a team that can click that stuff in so it'll go a little seamlessly, right? But anyway, here we go. Listen, I'm going to get him in here because he can show you better than I can tell you. And we're going to take a clip. This is a news anchor, y'all. The real deal. Yeah, here he comes. And he's in banking now. Now, just wait. Plus, I already know something, too. We're going to talk about that Blair Underwood thing because I know he was up against Blair Underwood for a lot of gigs. I got proof. Here he comes, you guys. It's coming down the hallway. Put your hearts on the screen. That's our way of saying welcome as we bring in Gary Anthony Ramsay. Okay, tell the truth.
What an intro.
Back in the day, I already know. Back in the day, you used to see Blair Underwood stuff at LA Law. So you know what? Man, that could be me. You look kind of like Blair Underwood.
Yeah, back in the day, back in the day.
I got some clips pulled up.
Right?
Yes. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. How's the weather? And are you currently in New York right now?
Yeah. It's a sticky mess, right? It's been a sticky mess on the Northeast coast for a couple of weeks now, man. I feel like a rotisserie.
Oh, that heat thing. I forgot about that.
Hot, baby.
That's what I heard. And the people out west have it even worse. Somebody on my thread 119.
We were in Philly last weekend, and it was hot, baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Jamaica. I was born in Mandeville, Manchester, in Jamaica, and on the hospital floor.
You really?
And, yeah, my mom tells the story all the time. And then I moved here. I moved to New York when I was about 4 years old.
Wow, on the floor. So I'm sitting up here going, I wish I could hear that story because I can hear it now. They tried to offer me a comfortable bed
because I'm ready. I'm ready.
No bed. Let me hear the floor.
I'm not waiting. I'm here.
Right. Y'all can take it after I get him out. Right. And clean them up and do all that. How interesting. So how long were you in Jamaica before you made the migration to the States?
4 years. I was 4 years old.
You were 4 years old. Mm-hmm. So tell us, here's what I like to do. I want to dip out for about 60 seconds and you kind of set up, pour into us in the audience with whatever is on your heart today. So it can be a continuation of your bio, or if you just want to speak to whatever, like I said, it's on your heart. 60 seconds, take it away, and I'll come back in with this notebook of questions I have. So I'm
okay.
Kidding. I don't really.
I mean, it's funny you talk about asking me about when I was born, because my mom was just here visiting and she's back in Florida now. But whenever she's around or whenever I talk to her on the phone, which is every day, I always think about, the thread of our struggle and, her life as a child, her relationship with her mother and how vastly different it is, with regards to my relationship with her and all the sacrifices she made. And then the through line to my kids. It's just, if you can't leave money behind, you can leave love behind. Right. So
yeah.
That's what comes to mind when you ask me, about when I was born and when I came here, because
that whole origin thing. And, you hit on a very, very valid point, something I find very important. And a lot of people miss it, unfortunately. And that is, like you said, at the end, a lot of people have lots of things that they can point to as they get ready to transition that they can touch. But sometimes people are shocked. They look around, they have a lot that they can touch, but they didn't bring anything that they could feel.
Right.
And it's about what you can feel. So I get it. I really do. So there's one of the bell ringers. I told you guys there was a reason. So let me start. I'm going to dip out then for a second. Give me 60 seconds and I'll come back in. You've done this. And we're bouncing over to you in the newsroom, Gary. Take it away.
Well, listen, I appreciate you bringing me on here. And, I wanted to also thank you on behalf of people who love children around the world for all the work you do. I was thinking when I was watching one of your shows the other day, I was thinking about a story I always tell when I'm speaking about the story of the starfish and the little girl walking on the beach with her dad. And there's starfish all over the beach, and the father keeps picking them up and throwing them back in. And the beach was covered with the starfish, from as far as the eye could see. And daughter asked the dad, "Why are you doing this? We're never going to be able to make a difference. There's 1,000 starfish out here, and you're not going to be able to save them all." And he said, for this starfish, as he was tossing one into the water, it says that for this starfish, I'm going to make all the difference in the world. Right. So I think about that when, I see stories or I hear about people who are helping children, in the world who need help. That's definitely a thing. That's definitely a thing that that's definitely a me thing.
You might end up with a show like LeVar Burton used to have, that Reading Rainbow, because I could just hear them playing music and you're like, I'm Gary. Look, see? Yes. Oh, man. So you mentioned you have some kids, right?
I have more than two.
You have more than two.
I got more than two.
Two?
Yeah. Oh,
so,
for sure.
So, but are you an empty nester now, or you still got kids at home?
Technically we are, because the high schooler he's at a soccer academy. He's away. So, but they're all home. But they're two of them are home now. But I've got grown kids and I've got the two guys at home. But
wow.
Yeah. More than 2.
Okay. All right. I'm thinking show, but we'll wait and talk about that
Yeah,
later.
could be.
I want to go to you've done so many different things. You currently work in the banking industry, correct? Right? And then you're news anchor and that kind of thing, journalist, boom, boom, boom. And now you've added author to it. And that's really what I wanted to start with today. What do you mean? What's that?
Yeah. You know how tough the publishing business is. You know how that is. Yeah, I got to tell you, it was one of those things that I'd been working on like for years. And like 4 years ago in my journey, I met a woman. She was a life coach. I was training to be a life coach. And my coach told me, give me the things that you have sold out on in your life. I want you to write a list and what you wanted to do, and then why you didn't do them, and what excuses did you make. And at the very top of it was writing a book. And I have 5 unfinished manuscripts partially done in my computer for the last 15 years, right? So she said, you got to pick one of these and you got to finish it, right? And you can't make any excuses for it. You got to dedicate time, push through, and commit to finishing what you started, all right? Because you can't tell people to finish what they start and you can't do it yourself.
Exactly. And you see, wait a minute. Yeah, I know you're like, what in the hell? What is he doing? Because I was going. That was my Game of Thrones piece, my favorite one of them all. When she was walking, they were throwing, and somebody threw that turd and it landed on her.
Yeah.
Shame. And because I laugh about it, but I throw those little things in because that's a great intersection to pause and pump the brakes, everybody, right there. We're laughing about it and making light of it, but it's a real thing. See, here's the deal. The spigot has already now been, the fountain has been pumped, and primed. So now the spigot is open. The flow has begun. So you had one, but see, that's the hardest one to get out. You can have still got
and what I was saying is like when I hit my deadline, which was my birthday, and I typed the end and I made my commitment, I fulfilled it, I hit my deadline as I had in my head for a year. I tell you, it was like a whole new world opened up. And I knew it still had to be edited. It still had to go through all of the the grind that a book goes through. But once I finished it, I knew I was good.
Okay. What about this whole new world? Back up. So take us in like Dorothy did when she landed black and white in Oz and opened up that door and everything turned into color. I kind of think that's the kind of experience you're talking about. You get done and you open up the door and it's even brighter and more colorful than you even expect.
And I deal with this in my book, and it's also part of the journey, and it's part of my work philosophy. Has always been this way, but for this particular project to go from start to finish, fulfilling this commitment, this lifelong dream, to be able to do that, it just made everything possible after that. And my level of happiness changed. I've probably been the happiest I've been in my entire life.
Well, after saying something like that, flip it over like those little Spanish games where you got to catch the ball in the cup. Flip it back over, and what do you attribute now on the other side of it? Because a lot of people deal with this part where they go, well, what did I wait so long for?
Right.
What was I waiting? Now that you already broke the spell, what do you think made it take so long?
Because I took accountability, and my book deals with this. I took accountability for my own life, my own actions, right? And I didn't create barriers for myself. I actually created opportunities and lanes and doors and openings. And going from start to finish and knowing that I could engineer my own life and engineer my own happiness, in terms of the microcosm of the book, being able to dedicate time to myself every day to get it done. I think people need to do that for themselves every day. If there's something they want to do, they have to make a promise to themselves to do one thing or several things for themselves every day to push them toward that goal, right? And then when they get there, they realize that there's just about nothing they can't do if they stay committed to doing it. So it translated to a whole bunch of other things, whether it's, I just told, whether it was buying a house or, my wife is working on a pretty complicated project right now, being present for her, my kids, college, the adults, being present for every member of my family and not being restricted because I felt like, I only got time for me and I only got time for stuff that I got to do. Right.
Is this your first book?
First.
This is your first book?
Yeah.
Do you know people that have books?
Do I know the people who've written books?
No. Do you have friends and do you have,
somewhere.
I'm taking it somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So we all do. And so this is a part I want to talk about because you're a new author and you got 4 other books sitting in the microwave waiting to get warmed up so they can be served to the world. So, and I like to use correlations between the guests, myself, and the audience, not to promote separatism, but to put a focus on how similar we all really are at the end of the day. So that's where I'm going with this. So what happened with you and the other 4? The other 4, because these are projects. These are creative things that they start, they are trying to get somewhere. They come through us so they can get to the world. So what have you done now in your world to say, okay, you other 4, which one of y'all is next? I've
had that conversation. It's so funny you say that. I've had that conversation. They're like kids. It's like, okay, which one of you is going to be born next? Right?
Exactly. Talk about that. How's that going?
It's going, it's going okay. There's progress, right? So because each presents like sort of its own challenge and opportunity. So, which one is a documentary, not a documentary, but it's a book on basically the first black people in television. It's called Fade to Black. So that's one that I would like to get off of the rails, There's another one. It's actually my first book. It's actually a fiction book. It's a murder mystery called In the Shadow of Doubt. So I've had conversations with that entity.
Okay.
So
all kinds of work. It's the work.
And the thing about it is that having revisited these dreams, right, that I had tucked away, also made me understand what excuses I made for not making them happen, right? And finally dealing with those excuses and putting them like away in my life. Like, I'm never going to use this excuse again. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to hold myself back like that again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I say it makes perfect sense. I say it all the time, and it's warranted here again. Oftentimes, in retrospect, when we're truly honest with ourselves about why something didn't work out, how did it go south or not get finished? Right. When we really follow those footprints back to the origin, we find out that it is we who have broken a covenant we've made with ourselves. Right. That's why it didn't get done. So
it's funny because like people are so upset. People get so upset when somebody lies to them, right? But the truth of it is that we lie to ourselves every day. We break promises to ourselves.
Those are the worst.
Every day, right? So the premise of, and that's part of the recovery process of getting through a crisis or a failure, right? Is understanding that accountability, understanding that, what role you play. There are exceptions and exemptions to accountability in a failure or crisis. I mentioned that in the book. But once you realize what role you played, right, you can't look the other way.
So let me ask you, the tagline of your book, the main title, You've Fallen, But You Can Get Up. Tagline, Overcoming Crisis and Failure. So talk about why you chose the term overcoming. So, and is crisis and failure the equivalent of trauma? Is that what we're talking about here? Trauma?
I mean, it can be. I mean, generally speaking, it's like people who've been happy or living a normal, or what you call normal, or at least predictable life, may face some kind of existential crisis. You're fired from your job, you lost your money, you've been arrested, your relationships collapsed, maybe you've been diagnosed with a disease, your business fails. You know, there's just like a variety of things that may happen to someone in a personal way, where they were forced to sort of face these issues. And it doesn't really matter if you're a food server or you're a Fortune 500 CEO.
Right.
You still have to go through this evaluation of how you got where you are, right? You know, what really just happened to me? How do I process the pain and the damage? Because most trauma will take you back to your original trauma, right? Like your original pain, the thing that hurt you the most in your life, that made you feel weak and helpless as a child, right?
Yes.
And when you go back in time, when you examine this through line, through looking through the pain that you're experiencing right now, then you'll be able to sort of see, well, what was on the side of the road that was maybe creating a distraction for me, that led me to this led me to this situation. And once you really take a look at that, once you take accountability for it, that's when you start to figure out the cause. And in the book, it's like basically 9 phases. There's the crash, there's the damage and the pain, there's the cause, there's your assessment, there's the plan, the support you need, your rebuild, there's the relapse, which is always out there, and then finally the rise, which is I'm up and, I'm back.
Okay, so here we go. We got the cover up, right now. This
is preliminary.
Preliminary. Well, I got it. I've fallen and I can get up. But then wait a minute. Then whose chalk outline is that if I can get up? Because somebody ain't getting up. So who is that?
I think that's the perception that people have, is that when they're
I
talk about that commercial too, because it was funny. People made fun of it. It was hysterical. It was for this company called Life Alert. And it became like a tagline, one of those those lexicon things, right?
Yes.
But the truth of the matter is that from the moment you hit the dirt and realize that you're in trouble, you have to start thinking about how you can get up. And it's not an easy process for some. It's easier for some than for others. When I started writing this book, I had some examples. I was going to interview people who had gone through this redemption cycle. As a reporter, I've seen hundreds of stories like this. That's when I started that book like 10 years ago. This is a completely different. If I had finished that book, it would not be as poignant and as insightful as this book was. That book would have just been sort of surface fodder if I had finished that book 10 years ago.
10 years ago. And
finishing it now and having the experience, because it forced me to also look at my own life and my own cycles, of dealing with my own crisis and my own failures and how I got through it. But it's not just about me. I mean, I interviewed psychologists and psychiatrists, who agree with this trend and with this pattern or plan that people can follow to get their life back.
So the things that you're talking about personally, the correlations and the things that set you up to be the authority on this thing, because we have to pour from our own cup. So how long ago, how much time between, let me just hit this clip. between the guy we're about to watch and the guy that we're talking to today, just to establish some sort of a timeline in the journey. So take a look. This is a little peek.
In business news today, 3 things to know. First, domino effect. U.S. stocks take a dive after global markets slump over financial uncertainty in Russia and China. Then, knockout, fighting superbugs and winning the battle. How businesses are helping to combat deadly diseases like malaria and saving lives around the world. And let's make a toast. The Fizz is back in champagne sales and why the business of bubbly is sparkling more than ever. Arise Exchange starts now.
Okay, so you see, now how long ago was that? You look the same.
That was 10 years ago.
Okay, so 10 years ago. So the stuff that's in the book that you're like, look, I got to get this out. You just described that the book is filled with the anecdotes and things that you learned going through it yourself. Was that since the guy we saw on the screen was doing what he was doing on the screen? And
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, because he sounds like when you just on, the surface to all of us watching, we would think that guy, look, he's got it all.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
But
so it was
back behind the curtain.
Right. So in fact, working for Arise was also a lifelong dream. Working for a global news company that focused on diversity. That I got to go to Africa, through this experience.
Yeah.
And any Black person who hasn't been to Africa, or it should go. And anybody who has been will understand how life-changing it is when you land.
They say as soon as their feet hit the ground.
As soon as your feet hit the ground.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah. And as soon as you and you're coming in the plane and you see that red dirt, you just know you're home. So, so that experience allowed me to travel to Africa and experience that and have like that my own.
So Gary,
enhance my journey even more.
Here's a good one. If you could part the curtain and yell something over to the guy that we just saw based on what you know in your own book, what chapter would you tell him to grab first?
I would tell him.
You're going to tell us what that chapter is because you probably have a book right there.
Yeah. I would probably tell that guy 10 years ago, to probably talk about the plan, right? And at that point, I probably did not live as structured a life as I do now.
Well,
and that guy could have used a little more structure in his life. And, because it was just like, hey, I'm doing it. I was living the dream, right? I was living a dream. Not all of the things that I wanted to do, just one.
There it is. There's the word. I wrote it down because I knew it was coming. I wrote it down. What Gary described, y'all. You hear it all the time. Here's another proof moment. Intersection. Here we go. The difference between need and want.
Right.
See, when you said plan is attached to need and need is attached to a plan. But wants are attached to wishes, mere desires. There's no plan. Because if a person say, I want to lose 10 pounds, don't do it, don't have a plan, around the corner, they've gained it. But let a doctor tell them, now look, you need to lose 20 pounds or I'm going to put your ass on insulin. Then all of a sudden, it's done. Well, doc, what do we need to do? When your kids were messing up or whatever, they're leaving the house real quick thinking they're getting away with something. I knew the difference when they said, okay, but when you come back, I want to talk to you. Okay, I go have a good time. Let them say, when you come home, we need to talk. Okay, I don't have no fun because I'm scared. Am I getting a whooping? What I do? Right, because that word need, they got a plan. A plan is underfoot, So really talk about, if you could, you get to the other side, that whatever that was between you and the guy we saw in the clip, you got to the other side because here you sit. What was going through your mind while you were building the bridge to where you are today? Did you think I'd lost my mojo? I'm going through midlife crisis, because I believe in midlife reboot, just like I don't believe in constructive criticism. I believe in constructive insight. So let's talk about the conversation that you were having with yourself, because you've hit some pretty big milestones, and then now something's going on. So talk about that. What did you reach for first to pull yourself back?
I talked to you earlier about my mother, and I learned to be organized from my parents. They were both very, practical, hardworking people. They got up, they did their thing every day, right? And that's what I did for many, many years. I went to school, I worked hard at school, got jobs, worked hard, and always sort of figured out what the next plateau was going to be, right? But I needed a why, right? I needed a why. And the first time I went through some sort of existential crisis, my mom told me, she said, do what you love and the money will take care of itself. So at that point, many, many moons ago, I constructed my broadcasting career, right? I did not go to a J school. I did not go to a broadcasting school, but I wanted to be in the business. So I constructed a plan then to make my way into broadcasting, and I got in.
See,
right?
Plan.
And then it just I followed that same organizational pattern from Florida to New York. I worked for New York One News in New York City for 15 years. I was started as a reporter, worked my way to anchor. But there were other things that I wanted to do.
Right.
But I just kept focusing on this. And what I'm here to tell folks is that you can have more than one dream.
Yes. Yes, you can.
Do more than one. And you don't have to let a life, you don't have to let a thing swallow you up, right? And think, oh, I got to put everything into this or I'm not going to make it.
Yeah. And you know what example I use all the time when people have a hard time getting to where you just went? Mm-hmm. As I say, look at Opie Taylor, little Opie Taylor, 5-year-old Ron Howard was Opie Taylor. As soon as I said Opie Taylor, for those of you old enough to have seen the interview show, you know exactly who he was. But then you didn't see Richie Cunningham when I said Opie Taylor, but it's the same person. And then there's Richie Cunningham. And then so he reinvented himself and he did it again. And then he did it again because then he became Ron Howard, the director, one of the most incredible directors of our time. Right. So that I just look at that, and there are many examples. So let's talk about this, though. So why do you think it was so important to you that out of the 5 books that you had, this one came first? What was the urgency behind it? Because I thought this would help my own personal credo to be able to help people and help people develop in their own way, and to rather than write a fiction novel or I thought this one would do the most good for everyone. So not just when I say everyone, I mean I thought this would help people, and that's why I wanted to do this one first, because it wasn't just about me. I wanted it to be about being able to help someone else recover or help somebody else make a change in their life and get to the place where I was. Now where I am. Recover. When you say recover, a lot of people go straight to recovery. No. You see what I'm saying? Yes, so, I do. What about the person who's dealing with multiple ailments? We'll say multiple situations. There's and one of the women that I interviewed, it was a high-flying news anchor in the BBC, Rihanna Scipio. She tells me her story of how drug and alcohol abuse just took her right down to the bottom of her life. Right. And then how she had to make a change she had to make all of these changes. She had to take
She had to assess her own responsibility. She had to come up with a plan to try to recover. She had to build a support system. She had to be on the lookout for things, because one of the things that people do when they start to get better from a crisis or a failure, and even if you to extend it to recovery from drug or alcohol abuse, is when you start to get comfortable, you think, okay, I'm going to go back to doing some of the old stuff before, right? There's a chapter in my book called The Good Old Bad Old Days, which is, you don't want to get re-comfortable with the things that got you in trouble in the first place.
No.
Right?
No.
So,
and I will say this. I want to throw this in there before we get too far down the sidewalk, because I look for these things.
You look what?
Look for these milestones, or these mile markers, if you will, inside the work that people bring, especially here on the show. So I'm glad to hear that even though you had not experienced it personally, you interviewed people who had that piece, the addiction piece, because I am a recovering addict. 14 years I dealt with that darkness, but it was also attached to mental health issues, which is my next transition into. Did you speak to, is there any story in the book where a person spoke to how they got a handle and changed it from mental illness to mental wellness, which in a lot of cases, including my own with ADHD and all the things and diagnosis and things they tried to give me as a kid in the system, but I didn't take them. Even then, they thought I did. I was, I wanted to just ask you, is there any piece in there in the book that speaks to the mental health issue? Because I don't see how it can be missed, because it's pretty much everywhere.
Right. Well, dealing with an existential crisis or failure is by very definition mental, right? You have to deal with reevaluating yourself. And I did talk to several people. I think the one story that comes to mind was this young man. His name was Trayvon Austin, and he didn't have one crisis. He had three. So he lost his job, and he was a rising star in the Maryland political system. That people had talked about him being governor, and he was in an election.
Oh wow!
And he got a job for this UK company, for this British company, that ended up being in the papers all over the place for fraud.
Oh,
so he's the American representative. So they used his name was in the paper, right? His election was going bad, and then he had a miscarriage. His wife had a miscarriage.
Oh,
and he went into this dark place. I mean, he went dark, and he wasn't really sure if he wanted to live. And it was his wife, his long-standing wife, his long-suffering wife, who was able to see that even in her own pain, she was able to reach out, grab him, and get him some help, because that's what he needed. He needed help, and he didn't really even see that. And but yes, he was dealing with very deep depression.
How many interviews are in the book?
I'd say about 18, 20. 18,
oh wow!
20, yeah.
Ooh, okay. So there's a lot of variety.
Psychologists, and then people's stories. Yeah.
That's cool. That's great. That's great. So where's the best place for people to grab? Is it out, or are we doing pre-launch?
Not yet. No,
it's coming.
It's coming.
Oh, so you haven't missed anything. Are you going to do pre-sales, or is that still out?
I'm hoping.
Okay. Well, you'll have to definitely come back. I'm just throwing that in early. Once the book is ready to get inside of everyone's hot little hands, and we will do that. We still have a lot of show ahead of us. We're going to take just a 60-second break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap it up and talk about another branch of Gary's world, where you might be able to learn how to develop a great pitch and more. We'll be back. A lot of show ahead. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back. right, welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren, and our guest today for the last 40-some minutes has been Gary Anthony Ramsay from New York, New York. Welcome back. Welcome back. I wanted to go into this last lap of the interview today and talk about the business you have, the Great Pitch Media piece. Talk about that. That's a lot in there. I was taking a look, poking around, and your tagline is, "It's not the ball, it's the pitch." Explain that statement and why it's so important to people, or should be.
So for those of you who follow baseball, or if you love soccer, if you're an international soccer fan, so if I buy a $20 soccer ball, in my hands it's $20. But you take that ball and you put it at the feet of a Lionel Messi, or you take that baseball and you put it in the hands of Mariano Rivera specifically. Mm-hmm. That ball becomes much more valuable. So it's the same content, right? And a message is really only valuable once it's received. So if I have content and I throw it in a particular way, it has a great pitch, right? Then the message gets through. And that's basically the content, the theory behind that. So
and it changes all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah. So people have the same message and talk to each other every day, but the content doesn't get through. And it's like being at a table with a bunch of people speaking Mandarin Chinese. You don't understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it's how the content is delivered.
Okay. So, and you work with people, mainly B2B? Is it mainly entrepreneurs, solopreneurs? Who's your ideal client, I guess is what I'm asking for the PR and communications. Because a lot of people don't think they're big enough to need somebody's help with their social media management, their messaging, whatever it is. And sometimes it's like you can't afford not to, Mm-hmm. So what do you say about that? How do people know when they need someone like you?
Well, what part of the work that I was doing when I started Great Pitch Media was also crisis management as well. So
okay, so
that's a part of it. But I think people who just want to be better presenters and just want to be able to navigate their life a little bit better. We live in a world now where you could go a whole day without talking to another human being, mm-hmm. right? People are looking down at their phones, typing, they're texting, and you sit down, you're sending emails. If you don't you could go a whole day with not speaking to anybody. Easily. So I think the art of conversation is waning. I think people are losing that. Be able to go out and advocate for themselves and make a better pitch for themselves. Like one of the most difficult questions I ask people, like in an interview, I think is the most difficult question to hear is, who are you? Like, what do you represent? And they start reading their resume. You got to stop them and say, no, don't read me your resume. Who are you? So I think anybody who wants to figure that out and be able to pitch themselves and be able to even just have a conversation, be it a social event, and just to be able to have a general conversation and have an exchange that enlightens the both of you, and just, I guess it sounds corny, but create connections with people.
There it is. Well, are you reading anything right now? If so, what is it?
So right now I'm rereading Caste.
What is that?
Caste, Caste by Isabel Wilkerson.
Okay, what's that about? I'm writing it down.
So that's the origins. The drop line for that is the origins of our discontent. So she goes into how there's about the American caste system, and segregation and slavery, and how it has created the divisions that we are looking at, staring in the face right now.
Wow, that sounds interesting.
Excellent book.
Yeah, I knew you had a good one. I could sense it. See, there you go.
I'll have to read it again.
Thank you for that little tidbit. And also, before we get out of here, I want to make sure you guys understand what's going on the screen. Up top is the LinkedIn connection. to Gary, Anthony Ramsay, and down below, scrolling, greatpitchmedia.com. Go over and take a look. Everything seems to be pretty much a la carte over there. So you don't have to have an entire meal. You might just need a snack. But whatever you need, you're going to find it over there. Gary, any idea? When do you think you could come back? When do you think the book will be ready for the holidays? Is that the hope?
Yes, that's the hope, that it'll be on shelves by the holidays and in one form or another. And I would come back after the launch. I'd love to talk more about it.
Yeah. And do you speak on stage? I think you do that too, because when I saw you in New York, you were at the BYP. Talk about some of the other things or other places people might be able to find your work.
Right now, to be quite honest, I'm spending a lot of time as the second and third chair for my wife's project. She's got a documentary that she's trying to wrap up. I'm very proud of her, and I can't wait for it to be done. I actually think it's going to eclipse my work, so I can't wait for it to be finished. So I'm really trying to help her and be present for her to get that done. So that's really sort of the.
Can you give any hints what the documentary is about? I'm interested. Any ideas about kids? What's it about?
It's about corporate America, and that's all.
So it's a horror movie. Okay, Jaws Part 5. Anyway,
pretty close.
Well, maybe she'll come on to talk about that when the work is finished. That's so interesting. Listen, and you have a lot of summer ahead of you. We're looking for great things because we already see that you've been doing it for decades, and why should anything change? Thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your work, your message, and the healing that you are offering people, pouring into people. Thank you,
Doc,
so much.
I really appreciate the opportunity. It was a blessing to meet you, and I'm just glad that we found the same road together on this journey.
Yes, me too. Hey, you guys, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab both of the links that Gary's provided us today and drop it into the comment section immediately at the conclusion of today's show, which is in just a couple of minutes. So you'll be able to have easy access because I know you want it. So there it is. Tomorrow, a mother-daughter team that I met at the same event in New York City, Junonia Renee, and I'm using their products because I bought it. They gave me a sample there. I fell in love with that little whipped butter thing. Man, and my knees ain't rusty. Right. So remember that if you don't get in there and put something on them rusty elbows, rusty. Right. So anyway, the mother-daughter team behind this beauty brand is in the house tomorrow, both New Yorkers. So it's a New York kind of state of mind. We'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, get out and find a little bit of your highest self. Push it over to who you already are. Make sure tonight, when you lay your head down, you can look over your shoulder to today and say, I woke up nice, but tonight I'm nicer, stronger, brighter, just better. Take that with you. Have a great one. Don't let my slam door. Was that a senior moment? Just playing. Don't let my screen door slam. I'm still with you. I love you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Gary, great job. Thank you so much. Can't wait for the book. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul.